number of COVID-19 cases continues to rise globally and right here in Guyana. Therefore, we encourage everyone to practice social distancing, wear a mask if you have to leave your homes, and wash your hands thoroughly and frequently as we strive to stop the spread of the virus. Welcome to InfoHub for Thursday, June 11. Thanks for joining us. We begin the news with the national recount. As Guyana awaits a final declaration from the Guyana Elections Commission on the March 2 elections, former Caribbean Court of Justice Judge Professor Duke Pollard said the commission is bound to produce credible election results. Here is our first report. According to the Guyana Chronicle, the former CCJ judge said that GCOM cannot make a declaration if the information lacks integrity. Quote, "If the information provided for the outcome is not credible, then the outcome itself could not be credible. GCOM is required to present a credible account of this recount process. It is strange to see how GCOM can give a credible report of the recount process if it is precluded from substantiating the integrity of the information." End of quote. He noted that it would be counterproductive to do so. His remarks come as the Elections Commission awaits the summary report of Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowingfield on the recently concluded national recount. However, many of the observation reports are laden with instances of irregularities. Those irregularities include illegal voting, missing poll books and unsigned affidavits of identity, wrong lists were in ballot boxes, and the issue of unstamped discipline service ballots. Justice Pollard reiterated GCOM has the authority to ensure that the evidence they are using as the basis for the report is credible. End of quote. Meanwhile, the lack of sufficient evidence by attorney Anil Nandlal this morning saw the withdrawal of his contempt of court case against Region 4 returning officer Clement Mingo, GCOM's chair Justice retired Claudette Singh, and Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowingfield. The case was filed by the late Riaz Holadar. Chief Justice Roxanne George reprimanded the attorney for wasting the court's time. The case, which was heard virtually, was thrown out by the Chief Justice, who said that the thin evidence presented by Nandlal was not enough to see the process through. Justice George later imposed a cost of $450,000 to the GCOM's chair, its CEO, and the returning officer. Since Holadar is deceased, for the purposes of awarding $450,000 in court cost against him, the Chief Justice appointed someone as administratrix of his estate. The Ministry of Finance, in response to a bailout request from the Guyana Sugar Corporation, assures that it is actively seeking to assist the corporation to access funds that are available to it to mitigate its present challenges. Kellon Rover has the details.
A statement by the ministry on Wednesday stated that the prevailing national circumstances, coupled with the challenges of COVID-19 and a reduced national income, has rendered the Treasury incapable of providing a bailout to Gaisuku. In this regard, the ministry reminds of a $30 billion bond backed by NISIL's assets and guaranteed by the government of Guyana was secured through NISIL to retrofit and revitalize the 3 remaining sugar estates. During the period July 2018 to February 2020, over $9 billion was disbursed to Gaisuku to fund its capital and operational expenditure, much of which was outside the terms of the bond. Additionally, NISIL, through the National Purpose Unit, sold the lands that were vested to it and garnered deposits of $2.1 billion. The full sum was used to offset bond payments that became due in May 2020. The balance of $1.5 billion for the lands will be paid over to NISIL when the vesting orders are signed and gazetted. It is expected that part of the sum will go towards a bond repayment, which is due on July 4, 2020, and the remainder to Gaisuku. Gaisuku also generates its own income. According to the Finance Ministry, another disbursement is expected in the coming days, and NISIL, Gaisuku, and the syndicated lenders are urged to work assiduously to resolve any bottlenecks. Government said it remains committed to making Gaisuku a viable partner. For InfoHub, I am Kellon Rover.
Public hearings to determine whether the International Court of Justice has jurisdiction in the case concerning the 1899 arbitral award Guyana versus Venezuela will open on Tuesday, June 30 in The Hague, the seat of the court. In the lead up to this major event, InfoHub will periodically bring you all there is to know about the age-old border issue between the two South American neighbors. Felicia Valenzuela takes us through the history.
Under Article 8 of the Treaty of Arbitration, the parties had agreed to consider the result of the arbitration as a full, perfect, and final settlement of the issue, and Venezuela did not protest the award. However, on the 8th of February 1944, claims of fraud was made by Severo Mallet Privas, a junior lawyer in the Venezuelan legal team, before the Paris tribunal. He made the claims via a letter posthumously. In 1962, Venezuela declared that it would no longer abide by the 1899 award on the basis that it was null and void. The claim was communicated in writing to the UK and was also made publicly in the UN General Assembly. The two states held talks and in 1966 signed an agreement to resolve the controversy, the Geneva Agreement. In accordance with Article 8 of the agreement, Guyana became a party to the treaty when it gained independence in 1966. After the 1966 Geneva Agreement term expired in 1970 without a resolution, the parties agreed to the Protocol of Port of Spain. However, this expired at the end of its term in 1982, with Venezuela deciding not to renew the agreement. In 1990, in accordance with Article 4.2 of the Geneva Agreement, the parties sought the good offices of the UN Secretary General in an effort to move the dispute forward. In 2016, the UN Secretary General announced that in the absence of significant progress towards a solution of the controversy by the end of 2017, and unless both parties jointly request that he refrain from doing so, he would choose the ICJ as the next means of settlement. Bringing us to where we are today. After unsuccessful meetings between the two parties, the UN Secretary General announced his decision to submit the dispute to the ICJ in January 2018. In March of the same year, Guyana also filed an application against Venezuela before the ICJ concerning the two states' long-standing dispute over the Essequibo region. The Secretary General's decision was welcomed in Guyana and received support from Caribbean countries, but it was received with much hostility in Venezuela. A decision by the ICJ could be the final act in the dispute. But the first step to this is to ascertain whether the ICJ has jurisdiction in the case concerning the arbitral award of the 3rd of October 1899, Guyana versus Venezuela. Procedurally, the parties disagree as to whether the ICJ has jurisdiction to hear the dispute. As for the substantive aspect of the dispute, the parties also disagree as to the alleged nullity and invalidity of the arbitral award handed down in 1899, which found that the Essequibo region lies on British Guyana's side of the border with Venezuela. Public hearing opens on Tuesday, June 30th in The Hague. Felicia Valenzuela, InfoHub.
More news after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Tamika with a message from my people. We don't know when COVID-19 will go, so for now better stay at home. Oh, we don't know, so let we try and cope. Sanitizer, use a soap. Oh, I won't stop, and don't you stop. Responsibility is what you've got to self-preserve the health you've got. Good hygiene, we need to all adapt. I won't stop, don't you stop. Stay away from crowds cause it's way too packed. We all should stay 3 feet away, and in time we make this fire stop.
This is a message from Tamika Marshall and the Ministry of Public Health in collaboration with PAHO, WHO.
A 2040 blueprint that will dictate the transformative growth of the University of Guyana will be released shortly. Spearheading this new era of development for the tertiary institution is UG's first female vice-chancellor and change strategist, Professor Paloma Mohamed Martin. Hear more in this report.
In a Zoom interview with InfoHub, Professor Mohammed Martin outlined the main areas of change that the university will experience over the next year.
We're looking very seriously at strengthening our financial systems. That work has already begun in terms of digitizing, modernizing our software, finishing off the audits that we've started, retraining staff that is going on, hiring staff with different capacities. That is one big one. It's already started. We're going to continue.
The Vice Chancellor highlighted a situation that has grasped her attention, one that she intends to change.
My biggest peeve in the university since I got there was the low salaries that we pay to not only academic staff but all our staff. This is a huge problem, and it's a problem not because of the money only, but because of what it allows us to do and who it allows us to buy.
In this regard, Professor Mohammed Martin was adamant that UG needs scholars with doctoral certificates for the institution to be science driven. She noted that UG has 20 PhD students in training who will contribute to the academic staff in approximately 3 years. Another area of focus is the improvement of the university's support system for students.
We're putting some energy on expanding student services and student care, as well as tracking them all the way and supporting them all through alumni, the first years of their alumni, meaning finding, helping them to find jobs and scholarships to go onwards.
Further, the Vice Chancellor assured that the security of the institution will be given more attention. This includes not only physical and cyber security, but upgrades to sanitation as well. Already, a project to revamp Turkine's campus sewage system is underway. Professor Paloma Mohammed has been at UG since 2007, working in leading academic and administrative roles. She was appointed on Tuesday by Chancellor Edward Green. Shaquille Bourne for InfoHub.
60 young people from across the country are now benefiting from a 6-week virtual financial literacy and small business training program undertaken by the Department of Youth. Neil Damon has the details.
Senior Research Planning and Development Officer Aditi De Jesus told InfoHub that this workshop is to simply empower the nation's youth whilst adhering to the emergency measures. She stressed that despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the department still recognizes the country's high rate of youth unemployment, hence the launch of this workshop.
The program will comprise of online classroom discussions, guest lectures from representatives from the business community, NGO, government, private sector organization. For instance, the students will hear from representatives from GRA, NIS, Credit Info, and IPED. We also intend to use cases, scenarios, simulations, and role play. They will be given a one-day business challenge where they'll be divided into groups and they will need to compete among themselves to see who will be able to obtain the most profit from the business venture.
De Jesus added that those selected were persons who are unemployed or in training programs. These persons include small business owners who do not have the relevant financial knowledge to sustain their business ventures.
COVID-19 has served to intensify the economic plight of our young people, since many of them are now receiving reduced income due to a reduction in business activities. Some are laid off and others have lost their jobs. It is felt that if our young people become financially literate and know how to start and operate a business, it will give them a sense of hope during this challenging time. In addition, it will help them to better cater for their needs and to develop the resilience required for post-COVID-19.
Upon the conclusion of the workshop, each student is required to provide a written business plan which will be reviewed. The department intends to provide information on how they can use their proposals to access funding through the Youth Innovation Project of Guyana, IPED, Small Business Bureau, or a commercial bank. Neola Damon, InfoHub.
Remember to do your part to ensure you do not put yourself at risk during this time. If you have a cough, fever, and difficulty breathing, seek medical care early, but call the hotline first. That's all for today. Connect with us on all our social media platforms, including WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, as we bring you the latest and important news related to COVID-19 and much more. Also, subscribe to our website, dpi.gov.gy. Your Bridge Report is up next. Goodbye for now.